got a lot of, we're getting a message. It's being live streamed.
Oh, it
we've
is.
got a
Okay,
lot.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I changed the topic and that's probably why it didn't go. Okay. So it seems good. All right, I'll come back on. Oh yeah, great. Okay. So yeah, and that okay, so that's what since we're on. All right, so here's another interesting part of the story. So I'm near the Outer Banks, so I'm with Kelsey and my son, and we're like, I wake up because the comet is happening, that whole comet. And I get up at like 5 a.m. and I start photographing just to see if I can even capture it. And then I was like, I know we had plans to go to Outer Banks. I've been watching the weather. It's been okay. So then I looked again at like 5:30, 6 a.m, and I'm photographing. I'm freezing outside. I'm trying to see if I can just find it. I'm not worried about staging a nice photo. And then I look on my phone and I see it's going to be clear tonight, clear tomorrow night, clear whatever. So we drive 2 hours towards the ferry to the Outer Banks because it's really dark there. And all of a sudden I'm looking out and I'm like, these clouds just appeared out of nowhere because it was chemtrails, like crazy. And then we're like, well, before we get on the ferry and get stuck on an island, let's look at the weather again. You looked at the weather, 100% rain for the next 2 days. Well, 100% rain tonight, and then it clears during afternoon, then clear at night, and then 100% rain and stormy all the next day, and we'll be stuck on the island. So we decided not to go, and we missed it. And then as I'm coming in the house, I'm just kind of frustrated. We finally drive. I see the setting sun, and then the Venus Saturn conjunction. Did you guys see that? How that looked? Right? It was like, it looked like one glowing orb. I didn't see any, so it was like one bright glowing orb. So anyway, so that was my kind of story. Like I was frustrating. Like I go in, I'm like, oh, look at that beautiful alignment, and then just like give up the whole trip. So, and then that's when I was just like, yeah, there's something going on with the sky. Like we have to wake up to learning how to navigate beyond the obstruction now. So, but why don't we turn our attention to Frederica? I want let her tell a story that she had while she was suffering. Let's just, it's on YouTube now, so let's just call it CVD instead of the name, or hoaxer virus, which is what I call it. Let's just say the CVD. So you want to talk, Frederica?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think what I experienced had a lot to do with how the aspects were going, or were connecting also to my natal chart. Because it was like almost symbiotic or mirroring, like I have my sun in Scorpio, Jupiter in a fucus. I have a Venus right after that. So we looked at that. We did a review after I experienced this about what happened in December. And I think the way I was able to grasp it, what was going on, without actually understanding it in the astrology, is probably also because I have the double trine, the Merkaba. So that, yeah, I know, Julie. Yeah. So I think it's a bit easier maybe to still be in touch with the energies. I'm not sure if you read the Facebook post I did. But what happened on the 3rd, it was my birthday. I was just doing normal stuff, just walking around the house, having some people over, drinking coffee. And I suddenly noticed something in my body. And I don't know how I know it, but sometimes you have to just sit still if your body senses something, just to read it, and not just go on. So I sat down and I had the weirdest experience because I became hollow inside, like let's call it a hollow bone. And there was just energy flowing in and out. And then suddenly I felt I had angel wings on my back. it sounds really stupid if I tell this because I don't have anything to do with angels or stuff, but I know it weren't bird wings. I know how to fly with bird wings, but angel wings were new for me. So, and if I put my attention on it, I can still feel them, but I could feel them for 3 days, and then I couldn't stand the energy anymore. So I went to the spa just to be in the water, because the only thing that I can do to go through certain energies is to be in the water. Then I can kind of understand better what they're telling me. Then I start fighting it, just go in the water and let it happen. And then I got this vision. I was just laying in the water and it just appeared really vivid. And so that was all fine. And after that, the next day, I was perfectly fine. Then it was like the full moon was coming up. And what was interesting is that I had some health issues, being really tired. So I had my blood checked, and it turned out that I was low, very low in iron. Thinking about Mars being retrograde, especially in my alignment according to my natal Mars, it was obvious that my body was telling me what my Mars was doing in my natal chart and what was happening in the transit. That was really, well, it wasn't weird. It was so logic that I was like, yeah, of course, I'm low in iron. My Mars is defeated, like literally. I've been living and working on my willpower and I couldn't anymore. So thank God my Venus is now there also, so I can receive, but well, anyway. So I got these results on the 7th, and the next day we had a full moon, and the day after I got really sick. And it was a really weird feeling of being sick, because normally you would say you feel like having a fever or something. It wasn't like that. I had extreme pain in my head, and it felt like electrical shortcuts. Can you say it like that?
So circuits, like, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
through my whole skull, my teeth, my ears, like all over, and for about 3 days. And it was very painful. And of course, you start to resist it, right? And I thought, well, if I keep resisting it, it's going to be worse. So then I just took 1 second to watch what was going on. And the only thing I can describe it is, you see this in a movie when people secretly download secret files, in a computer, and you see like all these data coming in and out. That's what I saw, what was going on in my head. Like information, but very mental, and didn't feel very natural to me. I think it went on for like 3 days, something like that. And after I saw it, it's lowered down. And then I think I was just really, really tired. And then after a while, I lost my taste. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I know some people talked about this symptom. If you don't smell or taste anything anymore, then it's this famous C stuff thing, So I did a little test, and yeah, it turned out it was the big C. Mm-hmm. So I've been thinking, so what did I learn? Why did I have to go through this? And I realized that when this all started like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, the first thing I said to a friend, oh, you know what? What's going on in the world, it has nothing to do with what's outside. You have to do it inside. You have to go to your own inner conspiracy, like that. And I was really calm the last couple of years, because I was like, it's not going to touch me. But now it finally did. And it was literally like, like something I still had to feel and do inside. And I also experienced at one point that there was no difference between life and death anymore. That was the really weird feeling, because it was so familiar. I was surprised about how familiar it was, that I didn't see any difference anymore. When people say, oh, there's no difference because it's just a different form. Yeah, I can understand it mentally, but I didn't live it. I couldn't. And now it has gone through me. So now I could understand, oh, there's really no difference. It's only a difference in form. It's in the being. There's no difference whatsoever. It was just in the same space. I knew I was alive, but if I was dead, would be the same. So that was really, really strange. And after that, it's like, well, I told it in my Facebook post. I think it was something of the process of the death of the process of Inanna, like putting all your layers out. I felt like a snake that's shedding skin, and just being totally not in touch with the world, but just being really in an inner process. And after that, it's a very vulnerable feeling also. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that was what was in the galactic center? I forget. There was a whole something going on with galactic center. I know your sun is in the
the sun is on the cusp of Scorpio Fucus, and my Jupiter is in Fucus.
Yeah.
And then I have Mercury and Venus. And Neptune, it starts with Neptune, so stellium. It was Venus going to through the galactic center.
Yeah, and that was that Inanna.
And that was
journey.
Yeah. So if you take my chart and you take the charts of the transits, like we did, Ike, then you see exactly like on the date how this process went.
Right, the whole journey through the gates.
Yeah.
Gates. Yeah.
And so I asked to do a review with me, because I was looking at my chart and I knew what I went through. And I was like, so why is this whole transit exactly as my natal chart? I'm doing something wrong in my system, but in my program. No, but that's what actually was happening. It was like literally going through my birth process.
Yeah, rebirth. Yeah.
And it was kind of a rebirth. And so I thought, after we talked, I'm finished, I'm done, I'm out of trouble. From now on, I'm going to have an easy life, like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's having these thoughts all the time. It's like you said, it's like this fog. It's I think, for me personally, is I'm being triggered now again to going back in my mental mind, instead of staying in tune with the energy, because my body knows it pretty easily. I just have to sit down and listen, and then I get the images, and then I know. But like the last week, I've only been in my head, like, why? What's going on? And maybe that's the pollution you're talking about. It's like, how can I go through a process like this and then like going so deep, and then like opening up and feeling like completely cleaned, and within a week I'm like, it's just so I hope it's just an echo of old times, and it will fade away again. Yeah. Was this a bit clear for you all guys? Or?
The Inanna part of the journey is interesting. That was like what I remember hearing, like you were going through this deep part of the center. That's the galactic center.
Yeah.
DNA exchange, So
Yeah, and it's like if you feel what's going on, I understood afterwards, after we talked, but I could feel like, no, I don't have to worry. This is something deep. Just go through it, and it will unfold itself. It will clarify itself after I've gone through it. Just be with it and see what happens and trust the process. And yeah, because believe me, I wasn't fine. I was really, really sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, interesting.
Mm.
Wow. So who somebody else had a similar experience with embodiment. Anyway, let's look at the transits moving in from new moon to the full moon, because there's a lot going on that's in that I think we do have to pay attention to the energy of the astrology, because it's deals with Pluto and Mercury. So anyway, what were you gonna say, Julie?
I just had a question for Frederica as, I don't know, I just kept getting this
Yeah.
question drumming in my head. What was going on in your IC at the time? Like your ancestral roots, were there messages coming in from the ancestral roots? And that's why there was like an internal, I don't know, it's just an intuitive hit that I'm getting.
Sorry, for me it's quite late and I'm really tired. So can you please repeat your question? I didn't get it straight on.
Yeah, I was curious what was going on in your IC, the bottom half of your
Yeah.
chart, right in the center. Because I see that, you know, there's some ancestral roots and,
Yeah.
you know, the
Uh,
DNA. When Ike said DNA, I kept going, I wonder what was going on in her chart, not only your birth chart, but at that transit time in that area of your chart. Like there were these messages coming through from your ancestry, from your
yeah,
I
you're
don't know.
spot on. You're spot on, Julie. I have my IC is Scorpio Fucus, where my sun is, Neptune sun. And then
Okay.
that's the third house. That's the third house. And then just in the fourth house, I have Mercury and Venus. And I work in the ancestral lineages. That's my work. It's my practice. So
Of
yeah,
course.
of
And
course.
with Mercury and Sagittarius right now, the communication of the higher
Yeah.
truth,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
it was exactly the transit of the full moon of December, the 8th, I thought it was, I think.
I think it was the
It's-
7th.
Or the 7th. It's my birth chart. Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's on December 3rd, I'm December 4th, and then the full moon.
Yeah.
happened, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what caught my attention, is the Venus going through the galactic center, passing all through a stellium, just tearing her apart. And then, you know, the low iron in her blood is the retrograde Mars. Yeah, it totally, you know, it's like, and then the Mercury was in Gatorade, well, retrograde. So, but yeah. But let's have a look at this chart. This is the new moon on the 21st. So that passed, but so, you know, new moon is good for, you know, setting the intentions. And why is that? You know, we you know, I'm under the school of thought that the moon is an artificial satellite. So why is it good to plant your intention on a full moon? Because the watching eye is not hovering over you. You know, the moon, it's not, you know what I mean? So that's what I feel. Yeah. So that's why it's good to plan your intentions based on astrology, because you have a view without something reflect, because the moon connects with your water system, your nervous system. So it pulls the water, right? That's where you get the tides from. So it has that much influence on your nervous system, which is why you get the term lunatic on a full moon. So that's my theory of why we've have this ingrained phrase to plant intentions on the new moon. But anyway, so if you look at the new moon, right, and I was telling you, like, right at sunset, or the glow, because you can see it's right below this horizon, we had that tight conjunction with Saturn and Venus, and it was right on the setting. It was amazing. It looked like this big globe, and what I picked up on is I mean, it's a powerful sight, but the mature feminine. So feminine moving into leadership. So after this descent of Inanna in January, this process, and this is what Frederica is talking about, like this kind of Venus getting torn up and coming back to life. Now she's conjunct with Saturn, the teacher of time, the one that approves. Saturn approves what goes on in the third dimension, in our earthly realm. So Venus and that conjunction is very beautiful. And then what you see here is this new moon is conjunct Pluto. And Pluto represents transmutation. So I wrote here the seed of transmutation, and Sun is 0 degrees Capricorn. So it's the measurer, right? Capricorn, Saturn, time. So what is the seed of transmutation to bring a bountiful harvest? So that's what I feel like this whole new moon was about, where he's stepping into feminine leadership, or the feminine energies are going to lead to be able to transmutate, to create a bountiful harvest, is what I picked up on. And naturally, when you see this, Mercury has a trine to Uranus, and that Uranus we speak about all the time is in Aries. And so this is sidereal. I mean, because tropical people are putting Uranus in Taurus. That's not happening. That's not what's up. It's in Aries, breaking new ground, breaking new ideas and visions with the North Node. When Uranus, Mercury's trine on Uranus, when Uranus and Mercury hit, that's usually a lot of information, usually in the form of media, technology. So there's information of truth coming as this seeds of transmutation for bountiful harvest. So that is what you know as the new moon. So intentions to create a bountiful harvest while you're transmuting and you're having this divine feminine energy in leadership rather than this dominating Mars masculine leadership. So that's what I saw with the full moon, with the new moon. So then if you come into, my pen is acting up. Is it this one here? No, it's this one. So now we look at the full moon coming up on February 5th. There's a lot more energy going on with the full moon, because you have, first of all, the full moon is going to be in Leo. And then there's a T-square with Uranus in the nodes. Well, Uranus in the north node moon. So a Leo moon, it's usually a heart-driven moon. It's usually something that's centered, it's like a heart energy. So you're going to culminate into this divine heart energy, this courage, heart-driven awakening, and it's T-squaring. It's just out of technicality that's not really T-squaring with Saturn, but we can see Saturn out of technicality is not really conjunct the sun right now, but it kind of is in the same space. It's in Capricorn, Saturnian energy. So we're dealing with this kind of some type of authority, and Uranus is kind of doing its thing. The Saturn-Uranus square been happening the last 2 years. We always talk about it. It's Uranus is the Great Awakening, Saturn is the Great Reset. So there's a square between those two planets pretty much the entire 2.5 years. So now we have the moon, and moon and Uranus create this energy. It's nervous energy, awakening, neurotic kind of energy. So now this is all T-squaring. So this full moon is going to be a little weird, because then you have this square between Mars and Venus. Venus is in Aquarius. So after Venus passes on her time with Saturn, she goes into Aquarius. So now the feminine creative energy that was in leadership is now in this kind of dream state, kind of this visionary state of creating a new path. But then it squares on this Mars that's in Taurus, which Venus rules. So I just wrote, it's not the best. I don't know what to make of it. It's just not the best to have a dominating energy in your sign that you rule, then squares up on you as you're kind of having this like visions, these like new worldly paths that you're going forward with after going through your descent of Inanna process. Then Mars is going to come stir up some shit. So I don't know. That just didn't seem like the best. I don't know if you guys can agree on that or not. I don't know what it means fully, but it's just not good. Now, this Pluto and Mercury in Sag. Pluto and Mercury bring out hidden truth because it's in Sag, right? Sag is about the higher truth. So we're talking about uncovering messages of hidden truth. That's what Mercury and Pluto represent in Sag. Finding the hidden messages. Let me just trying to erase this here. Okay, there we go. So you can see it. So you see it's in Sag. Sag is higher truth. Mercury is the messenger. Pluto is the dark shadows, the hidden, uncovering the hidden truth. This is what this represents. Deep hidden truth, darkness, shadows, uncovered. And then we'll see later there's going to be then a sextile to it was Neptune, right? It shows up here, yeah. Shows up to, so this is messages from the Akash, because Neptune in Pisces is out there. So these messages are coming from the Akash. The deep, dark, hidden truth is coming from the channeling. So this is why it's important to know this. And we'll go over the transits in between because we'll see when these actually come into 0 degree exact, the aspects. So it's important because if we're uncovering hidden truths and we're dealing with some stuff with the nodes, which we'll look at with look at the transits, like we're starting to get into uncovering something from the past that now comes into fruition on this new moon, and it's going to trigger your heart energy. It's going to trigger this Leo egoic energy. So now we need to be aware, like what is going on that's going to trigger this, right? So let's look at the transits, and we're going to walk through kind of what we're seeing. So these are the transits in between the new moon and the full moon. And just yesterday on the 25th, we had the moon conjunct Jupiter, which was pretty cool. I was clouded out over here, so I didn't get to see anything, but a lot of people, I think Julie, you shared a photo, right? And Danny.
Not of that one, but I saw it and it was gorgeous last night. Because we have no light pollution here, so I can see just about anything.
Yeah, I was clouded out. I didn't see, but that was just another beautiful sight too. I mean, so that's optimism when you see that, right? And you feel it too. I don't know if you felt it when you saw it, but from the photos too, you just see this big planet of the protector, because Jupiter is the protector of our solar system. Because of its gravitational pull, it pulls in most of the meteor strikes and comets. But apparently there's another comet coming towards us, I think today. We just found out about it a couple of days ago, and it's whizzing. It's the size of a truck, and it's whizzing past Earth. I mean, how does that happen? I have no idea. But it's today, I think. So if we're still here, we're gonna have another beautiful sight. We won't be able to see it unless you have a high power telescope. But the moon is gonna pass. It's gonna eclipse Uranus. It's gonna pass Uranus. It's going to block Uranus. So that energy of Uranus is going to be blocked for a little bit by the moon on the 28th. So keep an eye out for that day, because that might be a little bit of energy that we were kind of talking about. But what I was picking up on is in the beginning of the week, pretty much now, we can see this whole Mercury and nodes going on, and then Uranus went direct on the 22nd. So that Uranus now is an action of awakening, which is kind of why we could feel a little bit of the cloudiness is lifted. Right? But the nodes, Mercury and the nodes is highest truth, because the Mercury, when I was looking at last, was, let me move my camera, it was in Sag. So this is knowing higher truth, or accessing information of higher truth, hitting the nodes from the past and the future, right? So that's kind of happening, and of course the nodes are opposite each other because that's what they do. But Mercury tapping in on these, sextile south, trine on the north. This is accessing higher truth, knowing the past, heading to the future. So this is that energy. So we're kind of more and more, I'm looking at it, they were picking up on something, and this is where it gets interesting. So Uranus goes direct. We spoke about the Venus conjunct Saturn. That was that mature divine feminine coming into this mode of leadership. So that already happened, so we're in it. Sun Jupiter, I think I wrote here optimistic visions. But what's interesting is, check out a lot of what happens here is, so once Mercury hits the nodes, knowing past and future, higher truth, past and future, then it squares on Chiron. Pretty much, it looks like today, it goes exact tomorrow, and it ends on the 28th. This is all triggering now. So you remember how we landed on that full moon, which was kind of a little, not the best actually, a little nerve-wracking actually, a little. So now you have to realize what's going on. That's why we walk through the time between the phases, and now you know what can be happening. So this is triggering, I feel, because you have Mercury square Chiron, and then Sun square the nodes, and then Sun trines Mars. So this is going to be a trigger of past and the future nodes, because Mercury hit the nodes. So there's information about the past and the future that's on the surface. Then Mercury then squares on Chiron. It's like, remember that? It triggers a little bit. It goes, remember that? And then, so that Chiron energy gets triggered. And I don't know if most of us, if you're around your 50s, like I am, Frederica, and I don't know who else is, but we're having Chiron returns. So we're getting this energy of like, remember that? So it's kind of personal now. It's not even just in the transits. So if you're in the 50-year range, you're having a Chiron return. So it's a little bit more internal. And this is why I think it's the embodiment energy could be helpful, because it's personal. So that gets triggered. Then here about remembering triggers and the pain. So that goes on pretty much now until the 30th. We'll be dealing with that. And then Venus, what happens here? It looks like Venus takes a higher road with the south node, knowing the past healing. But here, I picked up on Sun square Uranus. There's going to be a burst of energy because we're now heading into the full moon. So there's going to be an energy burst that all of what just happened, you'll get hit with some energy around, it looks like the 3rd and the 4th, because the square of Uranus, and it's Uranus Sun. So that's that T-square we spoke about that hits with the full moon. So this is when the energy starts to kind of go. That's the energy we're going to be picking up on. And then here, the Mercury sextile Neptune. This is the messages from the Akash. So you have to remember, while all this energy is going on, the triggering of the is going on, that you have to stay clear because the bigger messages will be coming. So if you get triggered with these wounded Chiron energies and you don't know what's going on and you run around like a chicken with no head, you get triggered, you're not going to embody the astrology. You're not going to say, okay, like I have to release, because then to bring back your memory, you go back to the full moon and you realize there's a whole lot going on here, because there's a whole lot deep, dark, hidden truth that comes out with this Pluto and Mercury and Sag. And then there's a lot of heart-fired energy with this T-square, with the moon in Leo, right? Against, with the sun, Saturn, and Uranus and the node. So now it makes sense. Like, okay, there's something bigger going on that's being unraveled in order to transmutate, because what was the original intention of the new moon? To create a bountiful harvest. So you can either get attached to the shit that's getting triggered and coming out of the Chiron wounding energy that we spoke about in the transits. You get attached and you don't miss the whole purpose. But if you see the entire purpose of the lunar cycle is it's coming up because you want to create a bountiful harvest. So what does that mean? You're creating a pathway to separate the, like the harvest of the wheat, right? The chaff, right? Separate whatever is not ready to be harvested, transmutate that, put that back in as seed, and take the new and the good and bring that into fruition on this full moon. Because then the messages from the Akash, this is the Neptune, Mercury, and Pluto, will hit. And this is what we're going to look at. This is where the energy of what are you going to do with the harvest? See, you might not even know, but as you're uncovering deep, dark, hidden truth, you'll know what to do. But if you get triggered with the Chiron, you won't know, because you'll be a hot mess. So now that you know, you might have a better navigation between these next phases of the lunar. So this is why we look at the lunar phases like this.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was looking at Pluto and Mercury and Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the images that I had when I was sick, like with the pain in my head, and all these data was flowing through. And I said it didn't feel very natural, like a lot of artificial input we get as humans. I was looking at Pluto Mercury. I thought maybe that's what's changing. Could that be? I'm trying to read from my experience, like what's happening now, and I'm like, so what was this? All this, like, computer data that was going through my head while I had such a pain in my head. Is this then what Pluto is going to break down? That information is not what's going to help us, but especially when you talk about the message from the Akash, that's like the true information for us.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I think the hidden. So if you're distracted, possibly, right, you won't access hidden information. You'll be clouded and it won't come out, and you'll be just doing other things. But that information came in at a time of, I guess, you were vulnerable and the information came in. Now you're strong enough and it has a channel to come out during this time, is what it appears to look like on the chart. And but you don't really even know what it is right now, probably, until it starts moving. And probably when the Chiron comes as well. We had that Chiron triggering some stuff, so there's the next challenge. Are you gonna get distracted, or are you gonna see the lesson in it. And then there you go. There's your reward. So yeah, who else sees a few things? You guys can chime in now, and then we'll wrap it up soon because I want to wrap it up by 8.
I put a bunch of stuff in the comments so that that can actually go through at another time. But I was noting the whole concept of Venus and Saturn, you know, and as she moves forward, she takes a leapfrog over Saturn. And when she jumps into Aquarius, I just noted in here, because I know you can't see the comments, you know, she's had this conversation with Kronos about all the rules and what's required and all that. And she's like, yeah, all right, thanks, bye. I'm going out into Aquarius.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be seen in my community. I'm the evening star now. I'm very visible. And then I added the square from Mars is a challenge to her to continue to stand in her confidence. You know, Taurus rules the self resources too, self-confidence, and she's not going to let him push her off that stage. And then I added the full moon coming through Cancer into the very first degree of Leo will help soften this immature Leo energy that's in that first degree, because the moon will just have come through the relevant moon constellation. So it's a softness that, you know, so just tune into that instead of the little kid Leo that wants to stamp his or her foot and be seen. And then the last little comment I made was, and Frederica kind of alluded to this too, is with the Pluto Mercury, this Mercury square Chiron, you know, Chiron's hanging out in Pisces, which means we can pick up all the suffering and the empathic energies of everybody around us, feel everybody's pain, and I think Mercury gives us those messages, and it's like, wait, you know, I that's too much. I got to put up my energetic boundaries. But the South Node in Virgo, we come from a place of being in service in a health regard to others. Virgo rules that area of the chart. And North Node is now saying, you know, now it's time for you to take care of you and stand in your truth, stand in yourself, stand in what makes sense to you, stand up for what you believe, and the Akashic messages will help with that. You know,
it's
and it's
helpful
time
too.
to talk about it.
Yeah, I was noticing there is a conjunction with Jupiter.
Yeah.
So that energy of the trigger could be expanded or protected. It depends how you want to look at it. This is why I was saying, like, how are you going to take this expanded, especially those of us in our Chiron return phases, like how are you going to take it as an alignment or bigger? How, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah. How I experience this now, because I have this Chiron return also, is that I sense that I start to detach from the stories, the old stories I've been grown up with, and the things that we were told, and a religion, the way it used to go in the church. That's Sagittarius also, right?
Yeah.
That's what I noticed in my personal life, but I think that goes collectively also. That's that Chiron and Jupiter, they kind of expand the narrow-minded stories you just took with you when you were growing up, and now you start to think about it like, wait a minute, it's not my story. It's not my wound, maybe even, you know.
Yeah, it's the collective Pisces. I always say Chiron represents the wounds of our age, and this is duality. This is the ultimate wound, is separation. Isn't that the whole concept? We're all from oneness, and then we come to experience separation. So how do you experience that? Duality. Well, that's the wound. It's like the gift is the wound. It's like, wow, who thought of that one? Right?
And
But I just want to show you
there for a while.
Yeah, I want to show you something real quick. This is the 28th, the conjunction of Uranus and the moon. So it's going to pass in front of Uranus. So I'm interested to feel that one out. Yeah. And what else? I think that's it. Anybody want to add anything before we end the call?
I have a question and an FYI for people. The question is, do you ever work at all, or have you worked at all with solar arcs?
Not really, no.
Okay, all right, well,
Yeah.
that's a rabbit hole I'm going down. Side note for another discussion.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's three of us in the group that are gonna have a little live Zoom event on the full moon day on February 5th. So stay tuned.
Yeah, it's called what is it called, you guys? Are gonna call it
Time transits.
Tea Time in Transits, yeah.
Yep, and it'll be
Yeah.
with Maria, I call her the diva of the dailies,
Mhm.
and Danny from Oregon Corner. She does, she's been doing a bunch of series on YouTube, and then me,
Mhm.
the Mercurial Maven, I guess you could call me.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna put that out on the 5th. So stay tuned. We're gonna put some teasers out there and let you know what's up.
The 5th on the full moon, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Be ready. It's gonna be an interesting full moon.
Yes, it will. We'll get some more info out with Zoom links, and we'll go live on Facebook. And then
To the group.
then I'll record it, and then we'll look at putting put it out on our YouTube channels too for future use.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Cool, guys. All right, well, that was nice. I don't have any idea how this worked on YouTube, but I figured hopefully it it works, and then people will have the report. Maybe what I'll do is in the comments I'll put the time slots of what we spoke about, starting at what time. So if people just want to jump and look at the new moon, full moon energies, they can just jump to that time.
And you can also do, I don't know if people are aware, there are transcripts on YouTube. If you go to like where the buttons are that are like, share, and all that, there's a 3-dot button that you click on that, it'll say show transcript. And you can actually see the transcript as the video is going live or
nice.
you're playing. And then there's usually timestamps in there too.
Yeah, Mercurial
So,
Maven. There you go. Right.
There you go.
What
What can I say? What can I say?
Amazing. All right. Any other announcements? I think that's it. Oh, my rates are going up because it's time to focus on some people who are really wanting to take the work serious. So I have to, limit the amount of people I work with and fine tune and then still feed myself. So I have to raise my rates and focus my energy. So after February 1, that's it. It goes so there's no more sliding scale or anything like that. And mentorship is a serious thing. We can see, I mean, Danny completed the mentorship program and she's on fire with her business. She's got YouTube videos, she's got her site up, she's got her posters going. She's like, and Don too. Don was on for a while. I don't know if he's still on, but he's got his business going. So yeah, so that's the announcement. I have to
Cooking up some good stuff. That Venus in Aquarius might be some good energy for
Yeah.
us.
And Frederica, she does, past life,
Mm.
ancestral work, working one-on-one with people, bringing out the hidden, the deep, dark hidden, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing when you were reading my natal chart. I suddenly saw you started to talk about it, and it was exactly what I was doing, but you didn't know that.
Yeah.
You said like, oh, there's in the 4th house something with ancestral lineages and stuff like that, and it's literally my last name, right? From the line, it's lineage. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's your last name. That's right. Yeah, I didn't know her. She, how we originally met is she ordered a reading, and I do the recorded readings, and so I don't know who these people are. I just said this is what I see. It's just, holy cow! I do lineage work. Friese. How do you say free? Where you in
Oh,
Norway?
I'm from Friesland. Yeah, so it's like the most northern province of the Netherlands, and we still have our own language. It's an ancient language we speak.
That's
And,
amazing. That's good to hear that it's still alive.
Yeah, well, it's in a modern version, right? But still, yeah.
Really cool. Well, thanks for staying up late, Frederica.
Yeah, thank you.
And then,
good night.
yeah, exactly. Good morning, good night. All right. Okay, I think we made all the announcements. Let's stop sharing and we'll say goodbye. It was nice hanging with everyone.
Give a hug to your
Enjoy your
baby.
journey for the next 2 weeks. It's gonna be a little weird on that full moon, so it's good. All right.
Hugs to the baby.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a little cutie. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
he's big too. Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. So, all right,
Great.
guys. I'll see everyone later.